The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Friday, the 5th day of September 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Teo Dill will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by Peoples. It's game day, folks. It is game day, folks. What's up? Bermuda will be beating Jamaica tonight. Yeah, I did not say Bermuda will be playing Jamaica tonight. I said Bermuda will be beating Jamaica tonight at the Philadelphia Stadium up there in Devonshire. My prediction, I'll give it to you a bit later. No, I'm going to give it to you now. I think we're going to take it 2-1. Yeah, I think we've got them 2-1. Yeah, that's how I'm rolling today. That's how I'm working. Also, folks, you know my favorite cuisine is Jamaican food. But as a part of Bermuda, Jamaica, we must not eat jerk chicken today. We must not have ackee and saltfish today. We must not have curry chicken today. For one day only. If I can do it, I really do want some jerk today, though. We'll discuss it later. We'll discuss it. But it's game day. I'm excited, and I love the Bermudian community, Bermudian Jamaican community in Bermuda. Looking forward to it. Man, they may have more Jamaicans in Bermuda at the game than Bermudians if you all don't act right. So Bermuda, you better show up. Do your thing. But excited, folks. Excited. Mark Arthur C. Phillips, he says, good morning. Kenton Trott says, good morning, TDH family. Let's go, Bermuda. Yeah, and it's Friday Fun Day, so we're going to have some fun with this today, folks. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the outgoing One Bermuda Alliance leader, opposition leader, Jarion Richardson on. We're going to be discussing his term as leader and his plans going forward. So looking forward to that. The daily play is going to be a things you should know. All right. Last week, you all got it wrong about how many ribs humans have. Well, we got it wrong. I think a few people Googled. But anyway, do us a favor. Do us a huge favor. Don't forget, if you haven't already, go to thedailyhour.com and make sure you subscribe. Yeah, subscribe on our website. And also make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right. Now, it's Friday Fun Day brought to you by our friends at Mailboxes. Don't forget, you could go to mailboxes.bm/the Daily Hour and you'll receive 2 years of free membership. That will come in handy right now with the way things are going as far as shipping costs and the like. But also, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. And the question of the morning is, what advice would you give to Bermuda's men's national football team? Like, what would you say to them? Some exciting words, something to motivate them as they begin their World Cup qualifying campaign. What advice would you give to them? And also, are you going to be watching the game? Are you going to be watching the game, whether in person or not? What will you do? Good morning to you, Jewel Lee. She says, good morning. And Suzanne Ingham says, super awesome Sherry Day, Jamal. I like that. Everyone knows Sherry's favorite day is Friday. Charles H. Jeffs II says, do we still call it the carpet? I always loved that name. Yes, we National Stadium, the field was so smooth. We used to call it the carpet. You know, oh, we're going up to the carpet. That's what we used to say to make the finals. But audience, what would you say to our national football team tonight? We begin our World Cup qualifying campaign against the Reggae Boys, and we're looking for a victory. But what would you say to them? What advice would you give them as they get set to try to qualify for the first World Cup finals, which will be taking place in North America next year? That is Canada, the United States, and Mexico. But what advice would you give to them? What would you say if you could say one thing to the players and Coach Finley? What would you say to them to motivate them, to make an entire country's dreams come true? What would you say? Suzanne Ingham says, go get them, Bermuda. Go Bermuda. That's simple. That's simple. It's game day. I'll tell you, man. One thing I would say is just give it your all. Leave it all on the pitch. Leave it all on the pitch. That would be some advice I would give them. Dr. Anthony Richardson said, make yourself proud and make Bermuda proud. Yeah. Do it for you and do it for your country. Go out there. Write your name in the history books. I'm all about effort, folks. I am all about effort. If you give all you have, the result, yes, we want to win. But realistically, we know we're up against it. But you can't question an all-out effort. But what advice would you give to the players? And also, audience, are you going to be watching the game? Yes or no? Are you going to be watching the game? Whether live and in person, on stream, on TV, are you going to be watching the game? But again, support our team. They want to hear from you, folks. What advice would you give to them? What would you say to these players who are about to embark on a World Cup qualifying campaign that could see Bermuda playing the World Cup finals for the first time in the island's history? Sean Smith says, play with no fear. Go get them. Yeah, play with no fear. Go get them. Rashida Godwin says, where can we watch or stream or live? Where can we watch on stream or live? I don't know the answer for that, but I'm pretty sure the Bermuda Football Association will share throughout the day if that's an option for those in Bermuda. I know that people in different places may not be able to access stuff, so I don't want to say this is the link on this space, but I would say follow Bermuda Football Association throughout the day to see if they share where you can watch live on stream. Renee Simmons says, I hate to know I'm missing this one being off island, but my family will represent. Wave that Burmy flag. All right. All right. Speaking of flags, Rashida Godwin and her husband, Titan Express, they designed this flag, man. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this publicly, but I'm going to say it because when I'm proud of something, I'm proud of something. You all know I'm not down with the Bermuda flag. Like, I just don't like it. I've been very vocal about that. I've said that if Wales and Scotland can have their own flag, then why can't a territory have their own flag? We speak about Bermuda pride often, and things like that matter, right? So I'm not telling anyone else they shouldn't fly it, but man, Rashida, you and your husband should just start selling those flags. Seriously. That is more representative of Bermuda, those flags, than the Union Jack, if you get me. And this is not a hateful comment. It's just, I would love us to one day have our flag. And it doesn't have to be tied to independence. Scotland and Wales are not independent. Scotland and Wales, they don't even sing God Save the King as their anthem. But we do. So Anyway, that's my rant. Well, I can't say that. I may rant a bit later about something else. But anyway, Tanya Cheeseman says, watching live, go Bermuda. All right. She's going to the game, I believe. Charles H. Jefferson II says, my advice, immortality isn't given. It's taken. Go and take it. Well, folks, I watched I watched until the rain delay. I watched the Cowboys and Eagles game last night. And it was a shootout, meaning they scored on every play. I watched until I guess that turnover right before the rain delay. And, your boy goes to bed like 9, sleep by 10. So I was already up late. Yeah, didn't make it to the gym today because of the Cowboys and Eagles. And you all forgot to tell me that the NFL started last night. But I'm sharing all that to make this point. I don't like the Cowboys. So anybody who they play, I'm for that team that one night. So I was an Eagles fan last night. And I think when people say leave it all on the field and have no fear and give it your all, I didn't realize we have to put things in context for people in this day. What do I mean by that? Last night, we saw one of the most disgusting things in that game before a snap was played, right? Well, before the player played his first snap. Jalen Carter, one of the best defensive players on the Philadelphia Eagles, spit on Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. And while I love a good fight, like when I say fight, not physical fight, but like showing that heart in that fight, some things are just too disgusting to even want to support. So in saying that, while a lot of people are giving advice and telling the players to give the role and leave it on the pitch and fight hard and play with no fear, that doesn't mean you go out and express unsportsmanlike behavior. We're speaking of attitude. We're speaking about commitment. We're not speaking about anger and disrespect. Sad that I have to say that, but you all know what happened this summer. Not trying to rehash anything, but just being very clear. All right, let's get back to the conversation. What advice would you give to Bermuda's men's national football team as they embark on their World Cup qualifying campaign starting tonight against Jamaica in Bermuda? And are you going to be watching the game? Stacey Ann Brown says, yes, I'm going to the game. Stacey Ann Brown. What colors will you be wearing at the game tonight, Stacey Ann Brown? Show the flag in the comments, Stacey Ann Brown. We love you, Stacey, regardless. Tanya Cheeseman says, give it your all. Absolutely, give it your all. Misha Fabla says, we'll be there trying to find a medium jersey. If anyone has a line on one, the pro shop is sold out. Well, I have one, but I'm not there. Could have learned it to you. Yeah, but I have one I could have let you borrow. And the only reason I don't have my jersey on today, folks, is because I forgot. I'm not going to make any excuse. I forgot to put it on. Yeah. So don't be like me. Don't be like me. Remember, today is game day. Your job should be letting you wear your Bermuda jersey today. Yeah. And if your job didn't let you, your boss didn't have a Bermuda jersey day, well, you can tell them I said they're strange, they're weird, and they don't support the Bermuda national team. All right, don't say that, because if you get let go or something happens, I'm not responsible. Anyway, Nicole Walker says, do your best and stay focused. Bermuda is 100% behind you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Stay focused, folks. Your coach is preparing you for a big game against Jamaica. You all have worked hard to get to this space. Enjoy the moments. Because there's one thing I've learned about sport. Cam Newton had one of the Greatest seasons a quarterback ever had some years ago, 2015, 2016, around that time. And lost in the Super Bowl. And I remember people saying, oh, he'll get back here, he'll get there. He never got back to the Super Bowl. Seize the moment. Because you never, ever know if you will ever get this opportunity again. What else, audience? What advice would you give to Bermuda's men's national football team? And also, are you going to be watching the game? Are you going to be watching the game? What advice would you give them? And are you going to be watching the game? Renee Simmons says that spit was outrageous. He should be heavily penalized, uncalled for. Indeed. And you're a champ, man. You can't be doing that, you know. And again, as I said regarding Bermuda's national team, fight hard, leave it all up on the field, show some grit, determination, commitment to the tackles, but all within the laws of the game. Holly Rich says, make us proud, win or lose. I will not be at the game, but I want to hear the roar of the Bermuda fans wherever I am on this island. Absolutely. I agree. Stacey Ann Brown, holla at us. Let us know what colors you wearing tonight. Come on, sister. Let us know. Come on now. Let's do that. Any Jamaicans tuned into the show, and how are you feeling about the game tonight? I've said it before, man. I probably never met a group of people with more pride, man. I mean, you go up against Jamaica, you know you are going up against an entire island of people, local and beyond, who represent a pride that you just don't see. And it's not a violent pride. And what I mean by violent pride, it's almost like to have patriotism in some countries, you have to be violent, right? Patriotism represents war and so on. No, the patriotism that Jamaicans seem to have represents a love for their culture and their people. That's it. And I hope that pride that they show tonight rubs off on us and we're able to show it right back and one-up them, at least for 90 minutes. Charles H. Jeffers II says, is Bermuda 100% behind them? I've seen some Bermudians of Jamaican descent say things that make me question who they're with. Oh boy, this is getting interesting. I love it, Charles. I love it. All right, audience. This was your Friday Fun Day brought to you by our friends at Mailboxes. Don't forget, you can get 2 years of free membership at Mailboxes. Just go to mailboxes.bm/the Daily Hour. And also your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Always grateful for them. Folks, we're going to bring Teo Dillon for Daily Hour News Break, and then we'll take a break and we will bring the outgoing opposition leader, Jarion Richardson, on for a conversation. If you're tuned in and you haven't already, please do us a big favor. Whether you're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, or Instagram, give us a like, a love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Just make sure everyone you know has access to these most important community conversations as possible. Well, Stacey Ann Brown has shown up. She says, I'm wearing my Jamaican colors. Looking forward to a great match. I will be happy whatever the results, my homeland Jamaica versus my home Bermuda. And we love you, Stacey. We appreciate you. And send us some pictures, Stacey. Come on now. We want to see, I want to see some pictures with people wearing their Bermuda and wearing the Jamaica stuff to show that even in times of great competition, it's all love. Folks, we're going to give some thanks, show some appreciation to Titan Express, Secure Trucking. Then we'll bring Teo Dillon for the Daily Hour News Break.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right, folks, let's bring the taster in. I just made that up, the taster. for the Daily Hour News Break. Oops. Let's put Taster in. Hey, Taster.
Hey, please stop that. Like, it just sounds a little suspicious. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, bro. I don't know where that one came from, Taster. I mean,
Yeah. No, from the deep well of hate and evil that lies within your heart towards me. That's where it comes from.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
That's like the creepiest nickname ever.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's creepy. Like, oh, hey, there's the Taster. Like, taster of what?
No, it sounds like tasting food. See, I didn't even think of like that.
No. Oh, really?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I forgive you then. I thought that was the point.
No, I see him like, no, taster is actually a person tasting something in your mouth. No,
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
take it easy. We'll stick with take it easy. All right.
Yeah, that's cool. I keep that. You've been doing that for 20 years.
Tay, man. Look, what advice would you give to the players? And I'm trying to be very diplomatic here.
Yeah, I felt the length of that pause.
I don't think we have any players on the team who are like almost 40 who are still trying to make it pro.
Well, here's where your runway diverged and the plane crashed before it even got off the ground. Not almost 40. I'm almost 43. So, this is the person that you're asking for advice for these athletes, these extraordinary athletes. And the best advice that I can give them is to be who they are, which is to say the team that earned a spot on this field at this time, right?
Yeah.
They deserve to be there specifically and singularly because of their ability to play football. Just be who you are, whatever the result. You will never be able to feel guilty, ashamed, or upset with how you showed up. Just be you, and we will all be happy and grateful.
That's it, bro. Honestly, it's that simple. It really is that simple. Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it on.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad that worked. Now, here's a bad way to start the news, though. If you live in the West, your commute home out of town yesterday afternoon was insane. I can illustrate the point with a picture of my wife's car at about 6:30 yesterday evening. Now, you should be able to see that she's on Victoria, headed up the intersection with King Street. She started her drive home from the corner of Brunswick and Dundonald at about 5:45. So it took her 45 minutes to get, like 3 blocks? And this is all due to the Wednesday night's traffic collision that Maya reported on yesterday. That snapped the Belco pole in half on Harbor Road near Lover's Lane, which meant that Harbor Road was shut down during rush hour and bottleneck traffic until after the sunset. So as of yesterday, early evening, Harbor is reported to remain closed through this evening. So if nothing changes, catch the ferry if you can do it, because it was wild. Like normally she gets home. But I was calling her at 6:30 because typically she'd be home a little bit before that. And she ended up like going east to go hang out with my auntie and have dinner with her just to get around having to deal with the traffic. She didn't get home till about like 10. It's crazy.
I do wonder, because I saw a lot of people. I was following Bermuda Twitter yesterday about it, and they were just talking about all of this. And I understood the morning, but I couldn't understand what happened in the evening. Like I was like, it's still there. But we did get a message just now prior to coming live where the ministry is saying that all the road is now reopened to all traffic.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
Yeah, they just sent that early hours this morning, right before the show, actually. So I guess my question is, how avoidable is this?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say this was quite like a 1 in a million type accident. Probably more like 1 in 80,000. Like, 'cause it was almost like the perfect crash. under the perfect conditions and the perfect space to cause this kind of traffic problem. So I don't know if it's the kind of thing you can really prevent like that, but it's one of the consequences of living in a place that only has like limited arteries available to travel through the country. Like if one of them goes down, it's a wrap. Like you're stuck.
Well, let me just say this, because you know I have issues with Somerset people 2 days of the year and anyone who lives west. So I'm gonna say this. St. George's folk don't have these problems. I'll leave it at that.
All right, I'm gonna get you. You wait. I got another 7 minutes to think of something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think of something. Now, I don't know if you noticed too yesterday afternoon. The petition against the Southlands development, it was handed to government officials yesterday after having been signed by just over 1 in 10 residents. More than 5,300 signatures were collected on the petition advocating the proposed development be stopped and that the area be designated as a nature reserve. The young fella you saw holding the document, Decora Rayner, organized the petition to protect what he's calling the green lung of Bermuda. It's a vital sanctuary and a home to many native and endemic species. And its preservation is a moral obligation to the future. Now, what you see here is the petition that it beat as far as public participation and popularity, because the 5,300 plus signatures, it got close to twice as many signatures as the 2012 petition against an increase in duty rates pictured right here. So the proposed development of one of the single remaining untouched spaces in Bermuda is not unique to the world. And this is horrifying. Just prepare yourself, because when I read this, I needed to take my glasses off, wipe, and read it again. The largest deforestation project in the history of our planet ever is taking place right now in Indonesia. The project is clearing 4.3 million hectares, cutting down trees in an area about the size of the entire country of Belgium. The whole country, they're just cutting trees down that takes up the same amount of space to build bioethanol and food crop plantations. And this is the thing that really shook me. It's going to release 315 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere just from cutting the trees. That number, 315 million tons, is the same amount of carbon dioxide produced by the burning of the oil and gas produced, all of it, by British Petroleum last year, like BP. Just by cutting these trees down, they're making the atmosphere worse than BP does in a whole year. It's staggering.
Indonesia's where Bali is, right?
Yeah. Actually, I have a short clip to picture it, so you can see what I'm talking about.
Of machines have been razing the rainforests day and night since August 2024. Excavators snake their way along a 25-kilometre stretch of road through the once pristine landscape. According to satellite data, over 11,000 hectares of forest have already been cleared, an area the size of Paris. These aerial views reveal the scale of the ongoing deforestation.
Wow.
It's bananas, right?
And because I'm not a science guy, but Kia Vernabedier says that's why Indonesia getting so many natural disasters more than a lot of places in the world. Nature's not happy. I don't know this. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not that. But I mean, we keep talking about what's happening in climate, storms coming sooner in some respects in the Atlantic, more powerful. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to kind of wonder if this is part of the reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, it fits. Like the scale, humanity. Now, this may sound unfair or unreasonable, but I think it's hard to argue against the logic of it. Humanity, in terms of its relationship with the planet as a species, is more like a parasite than like a collaborative partner. Like the amount of damage that we have done to our Earth, as far as killing, removing species from reality, just eradicating them and destroying the natural world like this. It's like I don't know if we can argue in any way that we are a benefit to the planet. We're a benefit to one another and human life, but as far as like the Earth, we're the worst tenant in the history of tenants. Like we're totally destroying the apartment.
And I have so much to say on that. Yeah, I agree.
Now, in other news, the BMA's officially licensed a new fintech firm who's about to make it easier for you to buy and sell goods and services around the world using cryptocurrency. The company's called One Money, and they specialize in blockchain-based payments. And this new license from the BMA means they can offer complete stablecoin infrastructure in a way that respects global compliance standards and regulatory requirements. It's all part of a broader trend in the fintech space as more and more financial firms and payment processors, including Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, all the big ones, they're baking stablecoin access into their systems to streamline online business while reducing transaction costs, which, broadly speaking, is probably a good thing.
So hold on. Oops, can't see you. But hold on. So are they basically saying that they're not on board with the whole crypto and everything?
Yeah. Forgive me, my camera just conked out. But yes. Like as the premier in particular has made clear over the last little while, and when I say little while, I mean a couple of years. He believes, and as a result, the government's position is that fintech is the future, a big part of the future. And we're setting up a regulatory regime to maintain our high level of reputation for standards in the financial services space, but also accommodates this new technology. Yeah, like we're all in on fintech in a globally relevant way.
Premier Bitcoin smiling right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is success in this specific area. So shout out to him. Because we're doing better in this space than almost everybody else on the planet.
No comment.
I got you. Well, okay, let me ask you this, because I know we got a really cool interview coming up with Mr. Richardson, but I got another story about crypto that I think will scratch the itch that you just demonstrated you've got.
Fine.
You want it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, actually, do you know what? It's not even. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm all messed up today. It has to do with the biggest crypto hack in the history of the world. So if you got a cousin who keeps telling you that crypto is completely safe and you should convert your savings into Ethereum, I'm sure you know a few. Just chill out. So North Korean hackers stole $1.5 billion from the Bytebit crypto exchange earlier this year, and you're genuinely not going to believe how they did this thing. So crypto exchanges keep the vast majority of their money offline in what are called cold wallets. When you log into the exchange to move some money around, you hit a hot wallet with live accessible crypto. It's kind of like visiting an ATM for a bank, where the banks only keep enough money for a couple days worth of transactions in it. What these hackers did was trick the company's CEO into letting them in the digital equivalent of the bank truck when they were refilling the ATM, except in the digital space, the bank truck is basically like the entire vault.
It looked normal for Bybit as they set up the mega transfer of Ethereum coins to the usual place. But the hackers had secretly changed the address that the coins were being sent to. Everything was verified and the send button was clicked. By the time they realized the coins had been sent to the criminals, it was too late.
And the CEO is the one that authorized that particular transaction, but he was not the one that realized what was happening. Like, it's bananas.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like one of our parents responding to spam mail saying that they want to like, seriously. Yeah, like it's not a real, like, because it comes from someone, like, oh, Miss Camera sent me an email. She's actually paying me. That's just check the email address. If it says that's ZYG, like that's not Miss Camara.
But the CEO of a company like this, dealing with billions of dollars getting caught, like slipping. Lord have mercy.
Should be a bit smarter. That's what I'm gonna do.
You would think.
Plus the weather.
So the last night's thunderstorm advisory is behind us, and we've got clearer, brighter weather headed our way. But as the Bermuda Weather Service explains, the friction between a slice of high pressure and a close to static northwesterly cold front will continue to push diminishing clusters of showers our way. Air temp should remain about average, and skies should be clear enough for at least one picnic over the weekend.
All righty. Tay, so tell the audience, you have a birthday coming up, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, I knew you. That's why he turned his camera off, folks. So Tay.
No, it's really not. I'm sorry. It'll
work.
I apologize.
So you're gonna tell them when your birthday is, Tay?
Well, no.
Yes.
No, if I can help it.
Can you tell the audience when your birthday is, Tay?
Yeah, okay. That's all right.
When was that?
September the 8th, Monday.
I know. And,
yeah, I know you.
So on the Daily Hour team, we have like 3 birthdays in like 4 days. You, Phil, and myself. Anyway, are you doing anything for your birthday with the girls and your wife?
Probably. I haven't planned anything. I do not enjoy my birthday for a bunch of completely irrational reasons, and one reasonably good one. But I'm sure they love me and they show it all the time. So I'm sure they got something cool planned. All
right, audience, let's make Teo feel uncomfortable a bit. Please, audience, wish him a very happy birthday. His birthday is on Monday. Tell you what's that? 73, 74?
43. What just happenstance, completely unrelated to anything. How much older than me are you again?
Not a full 12 months. Not a full 12
still
months.
older. Still older though. Still dustier.
Not a few days off full 12 months. No, man, seriously, happy birthday. Enjoy your weekend with your family and your girls. I know how much you love your family, Tay, man. And thank you for being part of this team. So even if you do nothing, it's your day. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Oh, I got to give you days of the year first.
Oh, yeah.
Days of the year. It's National Cheese Pizza Day, Tay.
The universe smiles upon me.
Who eats cheese on pizza, Tay?
Actually, do you know what though? The fact that they call it cheese pizza negates my position, right? Because I think pizza, it requires cheese on it. Like you ain't gotta say cheese pizza. You could just say pizza, and it's a cheese pizza. So maybe the world's coming around to your position that there are such things, folks, as non-cheese pizza.
Exactly. So anyway, to all of those who eat cheese on a pizza, happy Cheese Pizza Day. But also it's International Day of Charity. And I just want to give a big shout out to KBB, Pals and Scars, our charitable and community partners who continue to trust this platform to have most important conversations on a regular basis. So audience, if you can, do us a favor today. If you see any posts by KBB, Pals, or Scars, give them a like, love, follow, write a comment, and just thank them for what they do in and around our community. And just give you a shout out, Suzanne Ingham and Tanya Cheeseman and Suzanne Ingham again, and Nana Pam Wade and Secure BDA and Renee Simmons and Charles H. Jefferson II and Polly Rich. They always telling you happy birthday, Taylor.
Well, that's very kind and generous, and I am grateful, I promise.
He's gotten up there. Tay, have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
All right, Taylor Dill, folks. In the meantime, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the opposition leader, outgoing opposition leader, Jarion Richardson. So do not go anywhere. As soon as I can. Folks, I think Teo may have. Give us a second. We've got to give us a second. I'm sorry. Looks like we are down. Just gotta give us a second. Anyway, it's game day. Don't forget, it is game day. So make sure you get out there and support Bermuda. There are jerseys available still throughout Bermuda outside of Pro Shop. So just give some stores a call and you can get your jerseys. All right. But give us a second. We're going to take a quick break and then head over, bring the Honorable Jarion Richardson back with us after this break. All right. So just give us a moment and we'll be back. Give us a quick moment. In the meantime, if you haven't already, as a lot of you tuned in, just give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Make sure as many people as you know have access to these most important community conversations as possible. Help us beat the algorithm so that folks have access to the conversations. Also, follow us on our social media channels if you haven't already. Make sure you follow us. There's different things that we communicate and engage with you. And we will have our annual survey that we'll be putting out again. And, we usually reward you for completing the annual survey with us. So look out for the annual survey. We usually put it out in October into November. You'll have a month. Well, I'm not going to tell you a month because it might be 3 weeks, but you'll have some time to fill it out and the opportunity to win some prizes if you are so generous to do that for us. All right. All right. So just going to take a commercial break and we'll be back after this.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Ready to take your financial game to the next level? HSBC is here to help you power up your financial fitness. Your strategy should be sharp and ready for anything, because luck won't get you to the top. Whether securing your future, growing wealth, or planning for life's next serve, HSBC's experts are here for you. From budgeting to investing, let's craft a plan as unique as your goals. Plus, get free financial planning consultations to stay on track. Learn more at hsbc.bm/financial planning. HSBC Bank Bermuda is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Get ready for the cool Bermuda nights ahead. A CI-AC mini split AC unit from BAC Group is the perfect solution, keeping you warm this winter and cool all summer long. While supplies last, you can get a unit starting at just $913.50. Plus, receive an extra 10% off when you pay with cash or credit card at the counter. BAC Group, comfort for every season.
SCARS stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets, and we are a Bermuda nonprofit organization whose mission is to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse and to be an advocate and a voice for children who've been sexually molested, as well as their affected family. New media like the Daily Hour is really important in partnering with organizations like SCARS. It's another platform for us for awareness. There can be no radio silence as it relates to child sexual abuse, and we need as many initiatives as we can get. We need to keep this message alive. In terms of us and the work that we do, live engagement is good because it allows the audience to ask questions, to make comments, even to provide us with encouragement and support. What I love about the live engagement when SCARS is being interviewed by Jamel is just this feeling of safety, this feeling that he gets it. He cares about children. It's a connection.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I am Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, let's give a warm warm TDH welcome to our very special guest for the day. We've got the outgoing One Bermuda Alliance and Opposition Leader, Jarion Richardson. Let's give him a warm round of applause, because the stress being an opposition leader, boy, I could only imagine. Greetings, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How about yourself?
Well, I can't complain. You know, technology does what it does, and it's game day. But by the way, I got to ask you, what advice would you give to the team?
Leave nothing on the field. Leave nothing on the table. You know, run it down. Run your energy, your effort, your care, your love, your passion. Run it down to nothing. You know, pass out. Wake up tomorrow, and no matter what happens, you'll be proud.
Indeed. Thank you so much for that. Are you going to be attending the game at all, or watching online?
I won't be attending. I had a client meeting booked long before, and then I saw it, and I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, sometimes you can't. As I'm shifting back into my my primary career, more so, you know, there's a lot of stuff to pick up. So I've been busy with that on my mind, and then I saw the game, and I went, oh, no, fair enough.
Well,
but I'll definitely be reading about it the next day.
No worries. But speaking about that, you know, your career and the like, today is probably going into your last full day as opposition leader, right?
Yeah, I came into the office today, and I mean, I'll pack up the office tomorrow. To be fair, I'm kind of a minimalist, so I don't really have a lot, just like 1 or 2 photos. I'll do most of my work day from here because I can work remotely, and then you know, go to the work office and stuff like that. But yeah, this is it. This is my last full business day.
I mean, let's go back. So, I mean, as I read some articles with you stepping on, you described that leadership is not a reward but a commitment, and that was some powerful stuff right there. It's an action and a responsibility, you said. When you
someone's asked me that, by the way.
But when you look back at the last 2 years, what moments or achievements are you most proud of under your leadership?
I love the listening tour. I thought we did the town hall series that included a bunch of stakeholder meetings as well. That was really fun. You see, after the 2020, well, let me just put it this way: leadership didn't start when I became opposition leader. I was already involved in leadership as deputy leader, and even before then, I was the whip. So I'd always been involved since my day one in some form of leadership or management of the party. So a lot of things that were happening during that time period when I might not have formally been leader, I was part of. But during the listening tour was part of leadership. We learned after 2020 we had to listen more and stop assuming that what we thought was what other people thought. Then we had, I think, a unified parliamentary caucus. You just didn't see the fractious nature of previous versions. You just came out. We worked as a team. We worked with each other all the time. The diversity in our voters and members has been increasing, and that's always heartening. In other words, we're attracting more people with different voices, people who are willing to give us a chance, willing to see past the surface level political narrative and go, well, let me actually speak to these guys. And then after a conversation, they go, oh, you actually do want to do well. You are trying to be representative. You are trying to, you are aspirational. So seeing that, the internal elections. So, previous in parties, it's easy to become authoritarian. It's easy for a leader to just simply grab the yoke and it's easy for the worst parts of politics to become true. Now, the way you avoid that is you inculcate a culture and a constitution that makes the practice of democracy the norm. And so, for example, the leadership transition from Cole to myself was a very clean process, a constitutional process, party process, so that we honored Cole's time in service and contribution. We came out of that with a leadership that was that hadn't been caught in any kind of bitter or resentment. And the same going into this new leadership contest, it's the same thing. There is a leadership contest. There is a process, and people are participating. We have a strong internal caucus. The I'll tell you one thing, it seems a bit small, but the website and the social media pieces, such as the graphics and image generation, budget reply, throne speech reply, these are all now, these have press packages with them, new candidates, new faces. So it's been a long process, but it's been fun.
Yeah, and again, I think as people are tuned in right now, it may seem minimal, but those little changes make a big difference as you try to gain ground, and ground was made at the last election. But from a personal perspective, you've spoken about needing to restore balance in your life between family, health, public service, and choosing a deliberate handover, as you mentioned. Can you share more about what personal and political reflections led you to resigning now? Like, why is now the time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the die was cast really after the 2020 election. We went to 6. I was the only rookie MP, and my first day in the House, I had 3 shadow ministries, and I was the whip. So it was sort of the deep end of the pool, and a super minority, historical super minority, and so I knew that I was going to have to commit overwhelming portions of myself to this in order to do this, especially when Cole invited me to chair the Strategic Review Committee internally, and seeing all that work that had to be done, I said, okay, I'm going to have to basically throw, I'm going to have to do 15 years worth of work in 5 years, just throw everything I had at it. And that throws things out of balance. So as we were making progress across these things, and there were other bits that were working out well, the constitutional pieces, tabling legislation, amending legislation, calling the quorum. There were pieces along the way, and so we were putting a lot of effort in. I had a great team around me, supporting me, working towards an outcome. But at the end of the day, the buck stopped with me. And to that end, one of the things that really started to get my attention was when my daughter, my youngest, started saying, "Come home before my bedtime." That was when, I'd see her. If I did see her in the morning, I didn't always see her in the morning. I left quite early. We have like a high five kind of routine kind of thing, fist bump, like a wave thing, and then she gave me a hug, and then she said, "Come home before my bedtime." And even my eldest, it's just things I noticed, and I discover things happening in my world that I was like, I really feel like I should have known that or been part of that. So the long and short was that, having looked at what it took us to get us here, having looked at the results of the 2025 election, having run a very complete post-mortem, over 60 submissions, a couple months of reflection, interviews, submissions, I looked at the next 5 years and said, okay, this needs somebody fresh, new energy. This is not for me. This piece isn't for me. My piece was that piece. This piece is somebody else's. Yeah.
And audience, I'll get to your questions and comments. Keep them coming. I'll get to as many as possible in a second. You did mention the strategic review, right?
Yeah.
Under your leadership. You also mentioned some of the things that you've done, social media improvements, attracting more diverse people, platform development, civic engagement, and the like. Which of the initiatives do you feel will have the longest lasting impact in Bermuda's democratic process?
It'll probably be platform / throne speech / budget speech replies, because it's the same process now, right? So we now have an internal process that is very, very fulsome. So in other words, in order for us to generate policies and platforms, we have policy development working groups, and that means that we have a team of 3 to 5, maybe even 10 people on that group, and they go out and they go speak to all the experts everywhere. They formulate and they filter out and refine, and they come, oh, I see this. Then they go speak to more people, and then they come back to caucus and they present, here's our findings. and the caucus challenges the findings, and then someone else will probably go ask and have another meeting. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when we get to the conclusion and when we put forward a position, it's a very well-researched position, and everyone has had an opportunity to review it, participate, and opine on it. So that's why it's so well supported, is because this thing, it's not just, I didn't just walk into a closet and walk out 5 minutes later and go, ta-da. And that's how we got to our throne speech reply. That's how we got to our budget reply. So everything in OBA now is very well digested, researched, and then proposed. So it's really that piece. So that's probably going to have the longest lasting effect in Bermuda's politics and constitutional going forward, that one of the two main parties, one of the two parties that are capable of forming a government, has a tradition now of deep research and reflection before coming out with policies.
No matter how good things go sometimes in our favor, when we look back and reflect, we may say, man, we could have done this differently or better or something. When you look back on your time as leader of the One Bermuda Alliance, what's something that stands out that you wish you would have done or could have done differently?
I would say it's probably going to be a couple things. One of the things I tried to do as leader was make sure that we conducted ourselves pursuant to the Constitution strictly. I'm a compliance professional by training, and so I like rules and regulations. I think that there should be followed both in letter and in spirit. And so our Constitution wasn't always fit for purpose for a number of the things we were trying. So we wound up with a sort of dissonance, a disconnection sometimes. So let's say that a person should have been referred to a committee, but that committee hadn't had proper minutes or agendas or chairs or something for a while. So that required an alternative. And what should have happened really is that committee should have been stood down years ago and the Constitution updated. So there was a couple things that sort of spilled out into the public that was a result of internal calcification that had to be dealt with. So without going into specific details, there's probably 2 or 3 things that became public that were, I did not think that that's the way we should have done it. I don't think that it worked out to our benefit, but nonetheless, we did adhere to the Constitution as closely as possible, and we came out stronger for, even when we have stubbed our toe, we've come out stronger for it.
Indeed. As you hand over leadership, what do you think are the most critical challenges facing Bermuda's political landscape right now? And what must the OBA do, not just with the new leadership, but in its values and messaging to move beyond criticism and become a credible governing alternative?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll unpack it. So the biggest threat to Bermuda right now is voter disenfranchisement or voter disengagement. I made a point in the 2025 election of saying, look, here's the kind of thing that scares voters off. It was a pamphlet. It was a sort of character assassination. I said, look, this kind of politics turns people off altogether, and its worst version, it'll disenfranchise a voter. In other words, it'll remove their ability to participate freely, fairly. People will then get intimidated and say, well, I don't want to be seen supporting a party, or I don't want to. It becomes a problem in that our free speech, our free choice becomes infringed upon. So that's a big issue. People not engaging in the political process is a huge issue. Politics is a response to think of it as an aggregated public opinion. If people turn off from the political process, then what feeds the political process is the extremes, and that's where you get your bitterness, your resentment. That's where you get your falling down of dignity and civility, and those things blossom and then take the place of what should be a very civil, moderated conflict resolution mechanism. That's what politics is, right? It's how we solve problems without beating each other to death. So, but the less people participate, the worst of the excesses become prominent. in politics. So that's a huge problem. Insofar as the One Bermuda Alliance is, oh, sorry, I was going to say.
No, go ahead. Continue. I was going to read the other part of the question, but go ahead if you remember.
Yeah. Insofar as the OBA's role in bringing this all back, bringing us back to a Bermuda of civility and normality. So we did a huge exercise when in strategic review that put us on 3 principles, and that is that we operate to strengthen the community first. We operate to enforce integrity in politics, and we operate on fiscal discipline. In other words, don't spend more money than you bring in, kind of thing. That is been I found that to be very hard to communicate externally, and I think that's where the next version of the OBA, the next leadership team, is going to have to go, is because we can internalize those values and we can work on those values, but are we communicating those values? And I would have said yes, but oftentimes I would run into situations where someone would say, well, what's your values? And I'm like, well, it's the ones that I talk about all the time. It's the ones I publish. It's the ones, but it just wasn't getting through. And so a different communication style is going to be necessary to let people know that this is an authentic group who is trying to make a better Bermuda. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to go to the audience now real quickly. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, does Mr. Richardson feel like he's left everything on the field as opposition leader? Any regrets, anything he wishes he'd done differently? Kind of asked you that already, but did you feel you left everything on the field?
Yeah, I'm definitely leaving the field with more than a few scars. I mean, there were more than a few times when I ran full tilt into another player, so to speak. And and my team came along and picked me up and give you a congratulatory slap and say, hey, get back at it. But yeah, I left everything. I did everything I could in those 5 years. Did I do it perfectly? Did I get every single thing I wanted to? No. But I certainly put everything I had into it. And now it's time to put that same energy into something that is multiple times more important.
WKD Lama's asking, Mr. Richardson, what do you think your legacy will be in Bermuda politics?
It sort of depends. So one of the things that I realized was that there's a lot of different types of Bermudians. I grew up on White Hill. I remember coming town as a kid, or even when I was in the police later on patrolling in Central, and it was clearly just different. There were things that were different in different parts of the island. There's small business owners like plumbers and electricians. There's underwriters. There's different groups who went to different schools. There's people who predominantly spent most of their times in community clubs. People who spent most of their time in friendly societies and lodges. So every one of them, what I discovered was has a different way of communicating, has a different set of expectations, and has a different way of looking at things. And so it really does depend. In fact, I would argue Bermuda was far more cosmopolitan than most people realize. There are so many different types of Bermudians, and they all come at it as, there are some Bermudians who have never been to the field at Cup Match. And that blew my mind. I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. But that doesn't make them less Bermudian. It's just that they're different.
Yeah, indeed. I've learned that just from being involved in the community, that they're in such a small place. There are so many different ways of living. And I think sometimes we live in bubbles and we'll be shocked to know that, oh, no, this person is not. And these are people you go to work with every day to find out they've never been to a football game, or some people have never been to seen the comet race, or it's just so. Yeah.
And you really do. And again, it doesn't make them less Bermudians.
Right.
I recently lost a friend and a friend of mine from up camp, as we say. We met him as a corporal. Lived very different lives in Bermuda, but we served together. I admire him and his family, and that was another another opportunity to reflect on the differences in Bermuda. You know, one of the things that WordCamp did very well, and I know you have a position on it, but it mixed a lot of those places, those different communities.
Mm-hmm.
So what you'd often find, you'd even find this in policing, like, so when violence would erupt, you'd see people defend one another because they had served together. Now, they didn't enjoy their service, FYI. I didn't see that all the time. But because they got to know each other, that all of a sudden these neighborhood rivalries broke down. Those walls broke down between Bermuda. And I think we haven't found the replacement for that yet. So I think these bubbles that we live in Bermuda, we still haven't figured out how to break those down. So as it relates to my legacy, it depends which bubble you're in and speaking from and to.
I appreciate that. And I just think this is a perfect opportunity to address this. But I think that speaks to the deeper problem in Bermuda, that politics, and I've said it on this show, that the OBA in particular cannot seem to shake. I was encouraged to tune into the House back in April, and I stopped doing it 3 years ago because I just couldn't take it. The level of conversation was just really not mature enough. And no disrespect to you or anyone else, it was very unbecoming. Anyway, I tuned in and I came on this show the following Monday and I said, and I'll ask you about this, the OBA, what I felt was holding the party back is no one seemed to know how to respond to the one weapon that the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party had, which was race. Someone in the OBA can actually read or present something of substance. And I'm not going to name names, but it was PLP MPs, mainly backbenchers, and they would just come up, well, the history and black people, and it was just like the OBA wouldn't respond. And I was just like, until the One Bermuda Alliance finds a way to respond to race in Bermuda and politics, I think that's the advantage. And speaking of apathy, right? I don't know politics outside Bermuda and the US, the only two places I voted. But I was following Jamaica a bit, and I read last night, because they had their election this week, 39%. They only had a 39% turnout. 39%. Well, I want to address the final thing you said about the Bermuda Regiment and the what it did. I don't disagree. It brought people together from different spaces that you would never engage with. But that speaks to how poor our community is, that you have to force people into an environment. That speaks to the racism that we continue to ignore in Bermuda. That speaks to the fact that two people from two different spaces are less likely to end up in the same organization working together. And if they do, it's the litter of the black people working with, let's just be honest, a group of white people. So that speaks to actually that's not a good thing about the regiment. That actually is a bad thing about Bermuda. The fact that we're so segregated in this respect. And it brings me to my last point about this. You know, I said to, there's this thing in the United States right now where a lot of people are losing jobs, but there's one particular group being impacted by that, and it's black women. And so I delved a bit deeper and I said, well, you know, someone says to me, well, what would that look like for Bermuda? What would be the equivalent? And I'm not speculating, but when the OBA became government in 2012, numerous OBA MPs and ministers would always shout the name Patrick Tannock as if, okay, well, Patrick Tannock did it. No, he doesn't. Business politics. Okay, that was one person.
Yes.
And then years later, you hear people talking about Miss Kathy Duffy. And then we see Neville Grant and Craig Water. These four people I just named no longer hold positions, be it retirement or whatnot. I tie that into the regiment thing, that while I understand the point of conscription and what it did in bringing people together, what I don't want to be lost on the community is that tying that into our politics and race, tying it into our economy and what Bermuda looks like demographically, that is not a positive for the regiment. That's a sad indictment of the community we have, from politics to business. And I guess my question to you by saying all of that is, how does the OBA as an opposition and government in waiting or hope, how do you address these things? How do you bring it back? Because we can't go back to conscription and think that's the way, because it
how do you address the very hardest problems? I can tell you how not to do it, by calling everyone who is trying to work on the hardest issues facing Bermuda and its 400 years racist, because they're talking about it and trying to figure it out. One of the earliest things we did in the OBA was we had a bunch of, I remember what they're called now. We had a bunch of caucus meetings dealing with big issues in Bermuda. And one of them was race and politics. And you raised that just now. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've seen one of our former members, MP Susan Jackson, stood up and said, I wanted to say she was trying to find an alternative during a debate on a 10% decrease on seniors' driver's licenses or something like that. I couldn't quite remember. Mm-hmm. You'd have thought she murdered someone. The response and the things that were said about her, including racial, about a very technical piece of how do we best tackle this thing. Yes, so long as we constantly revert our entire political discourse back to a question of race, then it is then the very hardest problems of Bermuda will become even harder to fix. Now, insofar as, well, what do you say when someone says you're racist? I'm not even sure where to go with that, because I find it very difficult. How do you prove a negative? And I can tell you right now, other than saying a lot, obviously you repeated a lot, is I'm not even sure where you're getting that perspective from for me, right? I went to Southampton Glebe, I grew up White Hill, I went to work SEC, and then I went to BI, and it's like the basis of this conversation is in and of itself is beneficial to one side and therefore is repeated, but because someone repeats a wrong thing, a broken thing multiple times, never makes it right. And yes, so there is this, now what do you do about that? Yes, because if we look at the US right now, look at the ascendance of a political narrative relating to people who are not deemed American for whatever reason. And look at the vitriol that's come out of that, and the things that are happening in the U.S. because of that. Well, yes, that's the future of politics, without voters making known that you don't always have to vote for the perfect party, but you do have to vote against the one who's doing the worst damage.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Emily Gildill says, "Thank you, MP Richardson. You are a true."
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
I'd like more comments like that in the House, because and that particular day, I believe it was the maiden speech for MP Tucker and MP Linda Smith, and I was like, this is being overshadowed. But that's just what I observed, and I haven't since then. And I believe the PLP has enough intellectual capacity to be able to debate without it, but it's their strong point. And my hope is that the One Bermuda Alliance can strategically find a way to respond to it going forward that doesn't let the messages get lost.
Charles, let's be fair. Let's be fair. I do want to say that that is not the case of every PLP MP.
No, absolutely not.
Right? Like there are some who when you debate them, I mean, you're having a real debate. You're having two professionals having a proper conversation, trying to figure out a problem. And there are some that are nothing like that at all, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to say that there's a difference. Yeah,
and I appreciate you saying that, because I again, and that I'm talking about one day, folks, just one day I observed, right? This is not to say that it. I just felt like it was the same thing I heard when I would listen regularly 5 years prior, like, oh, seriously, they're gonna say this, shut it down, and there's no response. And I don't know if the OBA's approach was, oh, we'll just ignore it. But ignoring it's not going to change the narrative, is I guess my point. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, does Mr. Richardson believe there's a growing opposition to political parties? If so, is that a good or bad thing? How can the OBA turn the tide, that tide moving forward? Sorry.
Is there a growing opposition to political parties? I would say there's a growing misunderstanding of political parties. I wouldn't say an opposition, because most times when you sit down and have a conversation with someone about the role of political parties, you're coming from one, so you've experienced it and you can answer the questions. A lot of times people just don't know how political parties work. I mean, long gone are the days where we teach this stuff in schools. So it's not as if someone has the ability to look into it. And FYI, who's going to download a party constitution? It's not as if parties publish our minutes and agendas and the mechanics of political parties. You do have to participate in them to know how they work and to go, oh, I see how this opinion or policy get reached. Oh, I see how this works. It makes sense now. I think there's a very shallow understanding, without being too, I'm not trying to be insulting, but I do think that there is an oversimplification, that's a better way of saying it, of how political parties operate and their roles within the Westminster system. What was the second part of his question?
That's fair. The second part was, how can the OBA turn that tide moving forward?
Trust. So that was one of the things that I observed. So it's one thing to get a vote. It's another thing to get trust. The reason I say that the two separate things is because if you get trust, you automatically get the vote. But if you get the trust, then you also get the ability and the power and the political mandate to start making hard decisions, right? If you get the vote, yes, you win the power, but you don't have any of the support that you're going to need to make very hard decisions. Almost everything you're going to do is going to be contested, and it's going to provide your adversary with just an easy ability to constantly attack not only your agenda, but your motivations. And so the thing that you really you really think you need as a political party is trust. The vote, yes, comes with the trust, but the trust is what you need.
Chioki Lodge is asking, who was in charge of communications during the last election, and how did that affect the results?
Yeah, so we had, so we don't talk about our internal structures because a lot of times, like I said, it's not as if there aren't consequences for becoming involved in politics in Bermuda. So internally, I wouldn't say which volunteer or which mechanism or which organ, but there was an organism, a sub-team, as it were, that were working in that space. What was the second part of his question? Sorry, I saw.
How did it affect the results, the communication?
How did it affect the results? Well, the results being what they are, it's very hard to say how a specific thing worked out well, because communications covers a whole band of things, right? Not just proactive strategies, making sure certain messages reach certain communities or groups of people, but also crisis management. It can result. It can be the minutia of proofreading, but someone didn't proofread something. It's arranging of a sign to be erected, and when the sign eventually gets stolen and torn down, getting a new sign put up, and seeing if you can get that one not stolen. So it's a pretty big spectrum. So how much does it affect? It affects everything.
We've got I'll go two more questions because we can't hold them all day, folks. All right, Michael Daniel is asking, in your opinion, is Bermuda way off track, mildly off track, or on track politically?
I don't know the differences between those. Is that a spectrum of circumstances, or?
Michael,
I would say it depends which part of Bermuda you're talking about. So is Bermuda way off track? Yes, we are. We're definitely in a very wrong direction. And the reason I'm saying that is because we have over 1,000 people homeless, even though we've had tons and tons of people emigrate. And it's not as if they packed up the buildings and took the buildings with them. So what we're seeing is a housing supply crisis in spite of ourselves, so to speak. Food prices through the roof, energy prices. We have an energy conundrum in that as more people leave the grid to go onto renewables and things like that, that leaves people on the grid driving up the price, whilst Belco has to maintain the same base load, meaning that they have to maintain the same amount of electricity, but there's fewer people to pay for it. The same goes for health insurance. So we're way off track. I mean, there is substantial, difficult work to do to get us back on track. And this is why we need voters to participate, because voters are able to say this platform versus that platform versus this idea, because that's what you're really voting in is, right? It's that set of ideas and a set of strategies. What was this? The next one was mildly off track.
Yeah, it was mildly off track or on track politically.
I would say so. There are mildly off track things, but there's glimmers of hope. So, for example, when there are more people becoming aware and participating in fixing our social ills. So when after the most recent shooting on Court Street, I went and had a walk around Court Street, just speaking to business owners and people shopping and just show my face and try to let people know, look, we're thinking about you and you're on front of mind. This crisis, this criminal crisis is on front of mind for us. And there wasn't anyone down there who wasn't aware of what was happening in Bermuda, the crisis among Black males, and that was a big part of the conversation that I was having that day. And so when I say mildly off track, I don't mean that our crisis is mild. What I mean to say is that there are more and more people who are recognizing and are fighting back against the crisis, and that's a good thing.
And politically on track, are we politically on track in any respect in your mind?
I think we're getting back to being politically on track. So the independent candidates is a recognition of that we need more political participation. I think that was wrong-footed, though. I don't think that was the solution to the problem. But I take the point, and I certainly welcome more voices in the political spectrum. So we're getting there, but what we really, really need is voters to vote. That's really what Bermuda needs, right?
And respectfully, I would say, I mean, we need voters to vote. And when I look at Jamaica's 39%, voters want something to vote for. And I think that's the responsibility. Even when you look at this year's election results, it's nothing to celebrate, whether you won or lost, because turnout wasn't, may have been better comparatively speaking with Jamaica, but it really was not good enough to say, they've given me the power, if that makes sense. We've got Amari.
I just want to add this one thing. There is a wider tendency in our societies, our Western societies, liberal societies at this moment, to say, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the deeper question is, what am I doing?
Right.
And even Kennedy had recognized that in that, like, well, what's my role in this?
Mm-hmm.
And what am I doing to help? And so a lot of people, for example, are contributing to back to school drives and things like that. We each have a role to play in this. And so the first question isn't, is he or she doing their job? It's, am I doing mine? And
I think that's interesting, because it was JFK who said something similar, and I didn't agree with it then. I don't agree with it now, and you just know me. I'm on a different spectrum than most. But it's hard to do that. And the reason I say that is because people are in so many different spaces in life. I've said on this show in recent months that there was a time when many of us volunteered our time and done stuff. People can't afford to volunteer now. They're struggling to feed their families.
Oh, 100%. 100%. No, and by the way, our contribution shouldn't be defined, and it's not to be evaluated and judged by other people. We do it in our own way at our own times with what we can and cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
But service to others is never a bad thing. And so that's why I'm always just trying to emphasize, like, okay, well, what can I do today?
Mm-hmm.
So and we carry that through life. So, for example, you're walking down the street. It's the small things. Even it's unbelievable what a small thing could do. You say good morning to the right person, and you just catch them at that one time of weakness when the world's just on their back, and it just changes their mindset. They just go, okay.
Yeah.
Even the small things in this country, in any place.
But I think you keep saying, and I think many others, and I think you're absolutely correct, though. And I think I hope people take what you just said. Service for me and service to you might be completely different.
Yes.
Right. But service is service. And I think one of the challenges in getting people to vote is people want to see people who see politics as a service and not a job. And I think that's one of the challenges with voter apathy that we're not addressing. It's like, this should not be an alternative. Like, there was someone reached out to me the other day, a PLP stalwart, and they said, I just remember, I know things evolve, times change, but, the PLP that my parents were part of, they were doctors, they were lawyers, they were educators, they were entrepreneurs. They didn't need politics for job. They went to politics as a service to get equity for people like them, and they feel like it's changed. So I think those are some of the challenges, but I want to get to Amari Simons, because he says, I think the OBA could do better with using the Constitution as a tool, i.e. ZD is not eligible, Public Accounts Committee suspending Senate orders in the House. Who's ZD? Is that Zandy Silva?
I guess I don't know. But could you put the question up for? Because I did. Could you better use the Constitution too? So yes, there's lots of mechanisms in the Constitution. Well, let's say within the House, because the Constitution is a much bigger thing. There's other mechanisms in the House, and that's one of the things that we were doing. So even though we were going through a crisis period, what you'll notice is we took advantage of those constitutional provisions and rules of the House more within the last 5 years than you've seen in other periods. In other periods, you would have seen a lot more of internal strife being quite public. But because we effectively sorted ourselves out internally, so to speak, we then had the capacity to start thinking about other ways of using our political power within the House or constitutional power to benefit Bermuda. So, for example, something as it sounds simple, but something like calling a quorum, so that people can see who's showing up to work, not showing up to work, because who's going to read the attendance report for or the minutes of the House, which contains the attendance? No one's going to read that. So calling quorum is how we say, hey, look, no one's showing up for work.
Let's go through one more question from the audience. I've got two more. Charles H. Jeffs II, he said, why didn't the OBA buy into the concept of a combined opposition?
We did. So we spoke with everyone who we could get in touch with. That wasn't easy. There was a lot of different people, and we were still trying to obviously maintain a team of some 36 people, platform, election committee. So we were doing our jobs, but we did hear the cry from the public and responded by meeting with people. Now, when we met with people, what we found wasn't, I remember once I was asking a person, I said, okay, well, what's your policy position on this? Because we have one, it's well-researched, as I described before, it's agreed to in caucus. So what would you swap out with it? And the person didn't have one. So I was like, okay, well, listen, I can't take that away from the whole party after 8 months of work without a replacement. Like how John McCain in the U.S. wouldn't take healthcare away from people without a replacement. So we met, and then there were a lot of people who said, okay, what we see for combined opposition is that you don't run. And they had specific names, so-and-so, 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 so-and-so. And we will run someone because you can't win those seats. And a number of those names did win their seats. And I think I've said before, when I committed, when I promised to someone, especially someone who's working for some time in that constituency, genuinely working, like you can demonstratively see the changes, I'm not then going to go behind their back and strip them of that opportunity because one or two or three or four people just think otherwise. Like, I had a whole party who would agree that was a good candidate, and that candidate has subsequently come into the House. So effectively, we were open to it. The problem was that the price for buy-in was betrayal of previous commitments and promises.
Fair enough. To tomorrow, the election for your replacement takes place. What advice would you give to both candidates should they be successful on the job ahead?
Bermuda is a bigger place than it looks. It is not a tiny place. Now, ironically, it's physically a tiny place. By number of people, it's a tiny place. But the number of ideas and interests and perspectives in Bermuda is incredible. The premise of the One Bermuda Alliance is that different people can work together towards single outcomes. In this case of our outcomes are strengthen the community, enforce integrity in politics, and fiscal discipline. So our differences are not so wide that we can't collectively work towards strengthening our community. But that means you have to appreciate all the differences. There's a lot of difference, and that means that not everyone always gets their own way, and you really do have to put yourself second, and a lot of other people before you. And I mean, we learned that in military school. I mean, as you get promoted in military school, you eat further back in line. So by the time I got promoted to Cadet Corps Commander, I was eating last, right? Because that's the point. The leader is not the one the leader is the one who leads you into the storm, into the fury. But when it comes to the benefits, you receive last.
Yeah, indeed. Final question. You've confirmed you'll continue as MP for Project West and remain committed to governance and accountability. As you transition out of the leadership role, what are your next priorities for both your political career and personal life?
Governance and accountability, because I can cover quite a few things, but one thing I have noticed is that there is a comfort with skating the rules, manipulating the rules, things like that in Bermuda that I'm very uncomfortable with. So when I say governance and accountability, I'm saying that, okay, let's get back to basics here. Let's actually let's make it. I mean, one of the things would be great is if we can make parliamentary processes understandable. That way, I think a lot of voters simply aren't aware of parliamentary processes, and so they just don't know how to hold us accountable. A great example is parliamentary questions. I didn't learn until I joined politics that you can't put those questions to the government. So if we're meeting next week Friday, all the questions had to be in Wednesday gone. You see how long that is? 24 hours in politics is forever. So the world just changes in that time period. But all of a sudden you go, oh, that's why that question's coming up again. Or that, okay, I have to think through this situation so that I can get the right question to the right government minister at the right time. Equally, one of your listeners was describing all these other provisions in Parliament. So I think making it usable, and I do think that the Speaker of the House is on board for the modernization of Parliament. That will cost money. We haven't seen a government that is willing to spend money on those governance mechanisms in Bermuda and modernizing and improving them. But we have to fight the fight we have in front of us, and we have to focus on the things that are important to us. And luckily, if every one of us 36 members of Parliament were to decide what is important to us individually and work towards that, I do think that we would see radical change in Bermuda. So much so even when committee chairs, for example, just don't hold committee meetings, right? I mean, we've had committee chairs who just don't hold a meeting for years. Right? Where's the accountability mechanism? I think that's where I want to take this direction, is somehow make these things transparent, understandable, so that people can hold us even more accountable on a day-to-day basis.
Indeed. Thank you.
Just so you said personally, I just want to add personally, so obviously family, but some of the things that I stopped doing when I joined politics was charitable participation. I look forward to getting back in that. As much as I enjoy the intellectual rigor of public policy, there's something to be said for just sort of helping an individual person. And in my lodge, we help people. In my church, we help people. I don't think I'll have capacity to join any more charities, but I did. There's something to be said about just getting stuck in, and I look forward to having the bandwidth again to work on specific individual matters instead of, obviously, as opposition leader, you're always scanning the whole horizon. You're working on the total picture, so you don't really have time to focus on individual pieces.
Mr. Richardson, thank you. Thank you not just for stopping by and trusting this platform, but thank you for taking on a role that so many wouldn't. Honestly, I have no interest. I could imagine. I don't have the temperament for it, but no, it's appreciated and valued. And despite how many of us may seem like we have no interest in politics, I think we all actually do understand the importance. And to your family, we also thank your family, your wife, and your children, because the sacrifice that you speak of, I can only imagine. I've been very close with 2 politicians in particular, and I know how much time it requires. So I hope that as you exit, you understand the important role that you played. And I'm just going to say it while you're here, right before you leave, that in 2017, when the OBA loss, a lot of it people felt was down to the leadership. In 2020, when the PLP lost, people thought it was just the intelligence of the premier. And it was a beatdown, and people thought, oh, that's the end of the OBA. They would never recover. I don't know what legacy would be. I don't know if you care about that kind of stuff. But one thing you did do, and I think even those who may not be fans of the OBA or politicians or have an interest in politics would say, is that you kind of brought them back to life. And so I think that's something you should be proud of, and people should show gratitude to you for. But we just hope that while you're still there, that you continue to be a voice and do the work that brings about a better Bermuda for all of us. So again, thank you. And please don't be a stranger.
Thanks, Mel. Take care. All right.
Jarion Richardson, the outgoing opposition leader of the One Bermuda Alliance. Folks, if you appreciated today's discussion, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. A gentleman he is indeed. We're going to take our final break. Do not go anywhere, because we're going to have a daily play for you. And yeah, we'll wrap it up and send you on your way.
Join 14,000 SCAR certified members in Bermuda, and you can help reduce the risk of childhood sexual abuse. Become an advocate and a voice for our children. Get trained, get certified. We offer community and private sessions. Visit scarsbermuda.com to register for training. You'll also find valuable information and resources on our website. Visit scarsbermuda.com. Get certified today. SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets.
Did you know 3 out of 4 people say that they have a good understanding of life insurance? Do they really? When asked how much the yearly cost would be for a 20-year, $250,000 level term life insurance policy for a healthy 30-year-old, 80% overestimated the cost by 5 times the amount. Ready for this? The true cost for that policy is about $220 a year. That's as little as 66 cents a day, or $20 a month. So let's put this into perspective. Compared to other monthly costs, isn't getting life insurance a no-brainer? If you can trim back on some of these expenses just a little bit, it will allow you to dedicate the savings toward an affordable life insurance policy. Contact one of our life insurance agents today to find the right policy for you.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Being from this little island, like yourself, we knew you needed access to reliable shipping. We set up mailboxes so you can skip all the long waits or held up in customs excuses.
With mailboxes, that won't happen. Get your packages in under 48 hours using our dashboard.
Plus, if you're a planner or headerer, our weekly consolidation service might be for you. We hold your packages in Delaware and ship them together to save you big time on shipping fees.
And with our warehouse being in Delaware, that means 0% sales tax. Pretty cool, right guys?
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. I'm Jamal Hartman. Folks, thanks again to the opposition leader, Jarion Richardson, and the One Bermuda Alliance for trusting this platform, coming on and having a discussion with us. Again, folks, whatever platform you're streaming on, if you appreciate the conversation, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Make sure you subscribe and help us beat the algorithms to ensure that people have the opportunity to hear exactly directly from Mr. Richardson and many of our other guests themselves. I also want to give a shout out and thanks to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we're able to pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations on a regular basis. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, are you ready? It's a things you should know. How many gamblers in here? Folks, what color is the number 0 on a roulette table? Stacey Ann Brown showed up at the buzzer. Green. All right. She'll have her green and gold on tonight. Green, gold, and black, folks. But it is green. Yeah. I guess we don't have many. Red. No, Suzanne. Yes, green, Nicole Walker. Yeah. We don't have many gamblers. That's a good thing, I guess. But yeah, the answer is green. Things you should know. Unless you hit the tables, you probably would not know that. Alrighty, folks, let's wrap it up. As far as advice for the team tonight, it is a game day. And I truly do wish the very best to Bermuda's national football team. To the players, as has been stated by many today, leave it all on the field. Effort, commitment, get it done. As far as the conversation with Jarion Richardson, I appreciate them. I appreciate that he engages in the manner that he does, and he believes in, he has his convictions. But something someone said earlier regarding great leaders know when to walk away. And I think that's being missed in this. He's not walking away altogether, but he believes that he will be probably more beneficial at this point in another role because of family and obviously other interests in his life. And for that, again, I think we all should be grateful to have such a gentleman, a person who seems to have the integrity that we're looking for in politics, actually participate in the process. And may whoever succeeds him in that role do us one better. All right, folks, it's time for your daily inspiration. And I'll leave you with this. Expecting great effort while maintaining realistic expectations is calming for the soul. Moral of the story: manage your expectations. Trust me, you'll be less disappointed. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we continue to do our part to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airways with the most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you next week. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please make it a safe and a great weekend. We are out. Peace.